Welcome back, tribe. I have an episode here. Apparently, 15 years ago, this guy was saying, do not get married, warning to single guys. He got he got 680,000 views. The first comment says, YouTube algorithm sucks. It took 15 years to show me this video. The damage is already done. Let's get into it.
Well, here we have a warning to those single men that are thinking of getting married. Marriage is, some men believe, a situation where they will enjoy the time with their spouse. There's no such thing as enjoying in a marriage. In a marriage,
It's a bit jaded.
the whole point is to savor the suffering. You feel the suffering, you savor it. And the level of suffering, which is daily and constant, gets to a level where you feel it and savor it exquisitely. It makes you aware that you're alive. In the same way that a patient that gangrene is eating its legs also knows he's alive. I like to say that marriage is 26 years I've been married, like 26 minutes underwater. The woman becomes irrational once a month. And on top of the fact that there's no sex in a marriage, because sex becomes an abuse situation where you can't get it because there's no reason to give it. Something a man wants and a woman doesn't want. Hey, I talked to any 10 men, and the last time any of them got it was not to be talked about, just lied about.
Dang.
The woman once a month starts doing irrational stuff, like putting you in a position where she won't show up at a party where your friends are expecting her to be and you, or not showing up at your family events, but she still expects you to show up at her family events or
Did that freeze or is it just me? Let's see. Oh, dude, this video sold. This dude froze on his explanation. All right.
family events or extreme shopping with credit card galore, and suffering, which is daily and constant. Extreme shopping with
Okay, it's
credit
perfect.
card galore, and situations like that. If you take your grapes and you crush them in a juice extractor, you kind of get the idea of how it feels. But it's 10 times worse than that. So any of you that are out there thinking of getting married to that sweet thing that's smiling, trust me, in a year, that sweet thing is going to be best friends with her divorce lawyer, and or you're going to be the most humiliated and emasculated thing on the planet. Anyway, this is a warning.
Yeah, it's completely true. Asterisk, if you're a beta male, if you're somebody she settled for. It's the brutal truth. I said this before, and I think we're headed into a new world where marriage becomes a luxury thing that only rich people engage in because, one, it's too costly, just in general, to get married. And then two, it's too costly to get a divorce if you're a man who's not, financially privy to what may happen and you didn't build up a sizable wallet to shield yourself. So if you're a rich dude, you got no problems. Obviously, there's ways you can have trust, blind trust overseas, all that stuff. Your lawyer can set all this up. It costs a tune about $100,000, but for a wealthy man, that's chump change and your assets are ironclad protected. There's like a base level of things that you could do as a normal dude that may or may not protect you. Some courts throw them out, but they're prenups. So it depends on the court. You have to go through the system. It'll cost you a couple $1,000s to go through the motions, as they need to make it as ironclad as possible. Some courts still reject it, but you need to have notaries present. You need to have two lawyers present. She cannot be distressed. You have to do this in front of a court, right? And then you can make it obviously more applicable and more resistant to being tossed out, but still could get tossed out nonetheless. Now, the blind trust stuff in Cook Islands, all that's a bit more advanced for the average man. So that's why I say getting married in the West, if you're just a normal, hardworking dude, it is probably far beyond you at this point, unless you got a real one, which is increasingly rare as time goes on. You already know this. So the only people that will be getting married and having traditional nuclear families and combining two families and climbing up the social hierarchy and moving up the economic ladder will probably be wealthy people. That's what's happening. The things that are left in society today to be enjoyed are increasingly becoming something only rich people can afford to do. This is the economic underpinning of the problem we're all having. We can't afford to live by ourselves. We can't afford to feed another mouth. Our wages no longer can support a family. We can't buy houses. We can hardly afford the payments on cars. We're living paycheck to paycheck, and you can't sustain a family with that kind of lifestyle. Men are feeling the pressure. So, that leads to anxiety and depression in men. Why? Because it's like every man would like to be a successful father, would like to be a successful husband, would like to lead a household, to look down and see his legacy that he's supporting and feel like, fuck yeah, I'm a real man. Look at this shit, dude. All these little kids, all these little seedlings, they're mine. Look how strong they are. Look at all their new clothes. Look how beautiful my wife looks, how well taken care of she is. I did that shit. I run this fucking joint. But we don't have that in the world today. So men are regressing, bro, because that black hole is empty. And so we have to fill it with video games, with porn, with anime, with, drugs, with alcohol, with, whatever else it is that's coming down the pipeline. Living in a digital world, the metaverse and all that shit, digital girlfriends, whatever it is. It's all that shit is to replace what we used to have as men, what our grandfathers used to have. And that's what's leading to all this dysfunction in society. I mean, both of us have been lied to and screwed, both men and women. Women got screwed thinking they're empowered by opening their legs up for every man, getting pumped and dumped, and they're told to feel good about that. Like, congratulations, sis. You got your hopes up for this guy that you thought was an absolute stud that you could tame. He pumped you and dumped you after you did the whole Disney princess mentality and thinking like this happily ever after. He's going to come save the day, upgrade my life. And oh my God, everything's perfect. Later, he doesn't even pick up your phone. He won't answer your texts. He's blocked you on social media. And he's got another girl. Probably your friend, because you're all sharing like the same dude nowadays. And it's brutal when you're I don't even want to say beta male, bro, just average. Average has become beta today. That's how messed up our society is. To be an average man, to have a decent job and earn a decent living, decent wages and lifestyle, you're a fucking beta cuck in the eyes of society. Like, you got to be the supreme ultra ripped millionaire. You got to be making a ton of money, being on private jets, driving Ferraris and Lambos and shit, one car every day of the week. That's what they want the new normal to be. That's what they're pushing the new normal as. Anything less than that ideal is like beta cuck level. And women are being brainwashed into thinking that shit because they watch social media and they all want the rich guy. They all don't want to settle for beta cuck, normal lifestyle, everyday boring, day in and day out. We're got to save money, honey, to buy this thing. We can't have a vacation until I work a little extra here and do that. And fuck that. They just want a man that could go, let's go. Where do you want to go? Let's take the private jet. We'll hop on this private island. Yes. And then tomorrow we'll be on my yacht. Yada, yada, yada. It's not even real. But also this man needs to cater to them like he's a simp too. And like rub her feet and be on his knees, praising her how lucky he is while also being a multimillionaire. The men like this don't even exist. It's insane, the media that women are consuming. And then, out of fear of being alone, they'll settle with a normal dude. A normal dude that they look down on. He could be a great guy, decent man. But for them, that's not worthy. So it's like, I'd rather not be alone. Fine, this guy will do. So they'll get a dude, push him for marriage, spread her legs, get pregnant potentially, serve you up a ton of sex in the very beginning. It's like what happened to this guy. He said within a year. I mean, you can tell. He was settled for, and then she made his life hell. Most men get settled for. That's the brutal truth. That's why men hate promiscuous women, because you can't compete with all the chads that she's been with. Sure, if you're a chad yourself, then that shit becomes less relevant because she's always going to be looking up to you. You're going to be one of the top men that she's ever bagged, and the chase never ends because women are always gawking at you, always after you, after what she has. So she constantly has to defend and mate guard. But for a normal dude that women aren't checking, that's always gone at work, that lives a very quiet, simple life, that gets boring, that she knows she's smashed guys multiple levels higher than this dude, of course it ends in this. She'll start to hate her marriage. She'll start to have regret about being married, contempt for you, that you can't do what the other men did, and all that shit. And it leads down to the sexless relationships, the roommate relationship in the household, the dynamic between them, like, it's horrible, dude. It really is. Most men cannot live up to the ideal that they're trying to push today. It's the brutal truth. But that's completely different than the message that we're trying to spit is be the best version of yourself. You could always be better than who you were yesterday. That's not a problem. You shouldn't give up. Unfortunately, most men do because they think, Obviously, the standard has to be multi-billionaire, Mr. Gray from 50 Shades kind of shit. It's just not real. And I have here from an old post saying what men regret, by the way, in their marriages. And one dude was saying, I was married. Your wife is not special. She's just like the rest. As soon as something happens, you know how you have her back. She doesn't have yours. She will kick you when you're down and try to make the world believe you're the reason why. Don't get married. That's what that dude says. One guy had a happy response, but he's one of the rare few. He said, my biggest regret is not marrying my wife sooner and having kids sooner. Been together 25 years and have 2 sons. Would love to have had a daughter as well, but I love my wife and son to pieces. Sons. This guy says, my only regret, here's a decent one too, is that I didn't find my wife until I was 35. We got married the next year, tried to have kids and didn't succeed until I was 39. I was 40 with an infant, a job made for a younger man. I don't regret having 4 kids. Wow. I just wish I could have had them 20 years younger. So that went well for them. This guy says marriage is a business and they won't tell you that, especially women. Lust is always mistaken for love and that's when it ends. Just understand that with the same passion that a woman can love you, she can also hate you. The man that says she would never do that to me is in for a big surprise. And that's super true because, again, I think most guys are really inexperienced when it comes to women. Like the average dude, obviously he's not batting the averages that the average woman is. Body counts are nowhere near the same today. And when you get a guy that's so inexperienced, he'll often mistake a woman that's love bombing him to control him, manipulating him with sex, basically, that's passion, that's real love, that she actually likes him, while simultaneously she's pushing him to get married, to put the ring on quicker, to have the kids faster, to basically lock down her meal ticket for life. And the guy has no idea that this is all happening, that you're the mark. I have an episode coming out on the second channel, by the way, about the hunter and scavenger. And it's basically an analogy for what men are doing today in the dating game, that most men think they're the hunters going after women, but really they're either the scavengers or prey. Some guys will take what they can get, just like the scavengers, bagging women way below their potential, their quality, just because of the scarcity mindset. And the other ones are all mostly the prey, that they think they're doing all the work while being manipulated by the real predators, women. So that'll be an interesting one if you guys want to watch it on the second channel. Dropping sometime today. This one says his wife was glued to sitcoms and drama. Watching her feed the kids while having the phone on the other hand is aggravating. And that's the tip of the iceberg. I remember reading that one on a prior episode. And this one gives some good information here. Pay very close attention to them in heightened state. Angry, overjoyed, or arguments. If you're aware of their past and it's sketchy or full of red flags, please talk yourself out of committing. And if you have people who have your back telling you it seems risky, please listen. And he says, when around their parents, take in their parents' relationship as much as possible. Her father will possibly be compared to, and her mother's behavior is likely what she will revert to in an uncomfortable situation. Number 4 is take note of their spending habits. Does money go more often than it stays? Are needless things being bought just because? 5, if their friends are promiscuous, that energy isn't conducive to the success of a healthy marriage. You can keep going, he says, but obviously these are some of the red flags that men ignore just when the clammy busts open and you have something finally that you've been working so hard towards. And that's why it ends in flames for so many men, average men, especially scarcity mentality. You take what you can get. And often what you can get is less than what you should deserve or what you deserve to have. Excuse me. But hey, some men have the mentality of anything's better than nothing, I was stuck with my hand before, and now I have a woman, no matter how unruly she is. And for some men, that's okay, and they'll deal with the death by the 1,000 cuts, and that's up to them, boys. But like I said, I believe, personally, it's a luxury today. I would advise against marriage for any man, normal man, unless you can afford or make so much money that you're insulated from any damage from divorce. Then I think it's a undertaking worth the risk, because the nuclear family is undefeated. However, maintaining it is more difficult than ever. So if you've insulated yourself and you could take the hit of a divorce, live life just as well as you've been living while married, it doesn't affect you financially at all. In that sense, by all means. That's just not the reality for most of us. It is what it is. That's why some men opt to go overseas and live there, because culturally it's different. Society discourages divorces. The family discourages divorces. There's social pressure to stay together. And because of that traditional culture, their values are different. They actually don't hate men. Families are still regarded as important, children especially. And people are implored to take care of their problems first instead of seeking divorce in the easy way out. We just don't have the same mentality here in the West. So that's why this shit turned into quite literally a shit show. And we're watching the statistics bear all this out. Let's see how it plays out in the next 15, 20 years. Will they be sounding the alarm and starting to come up with government-funded programs to get people to marry and have children in nuclear families because of the moral rot and decay of society? The fabric all around us is crumbling. We shall see, boys. Until then, hold out. Don't settle for less, just as the ladies say. And we'll see you on the next one.